We've got to start with this extraordinary story, and I promise you we are not making this up. A Canadian town has been fined $10,000 for refusing to celebrate Pride Month, and the town's councillors who voted against Pride Month have been ordered to undergo human rights training. The saga began when a gay rights group asked the Emo Council, that's the name of the town, not a descriptor of the council, they asked the Emo Council in Ontario to proclaim June as Pride Month and to fly a pride flag. Now, they asked the council to agree that sexual orientations and diverse gender identities should be celebrated. Well, the council voted 3-2 against the motion. The mayor, during the break, observed that flags aren't flown for straight people, so he didn't see why they should be flown for gay people. Well, the gay rights group took exception to this and went straight to the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal. And get this, it resulted in a 5-day hearing, paid for, of course, by taxpayers. Here's the result of the hearing. In a decision handed down last week, the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario ruled that Emo, its mayor and 2 of its councillors had violated the Ontario Human Rights Code by refusing to proclaim June as Pride Month. The town was also cited for failing to fly an LGBTQ2, the 2 stands for two-spirited, rainbow flag, despite the fact they didn't have an official flagpole. Now, as I said, the council was fined $10,000. That money went to the Pride group. The mayor was personally fined $5,000, also sent to the Pride group. And those who voted against Pride Month were ordered to undergo human rights training and to provide written proof that they had done the training within 30 days to the Pride group. Now, this thing has got problems everywhere, but just off the top of my head, firstly, Caleb and Liz, no one has the right to be celebrated. You might celebrate yourself, but you don't have the right to demand I or anyone else celebrates you. In fact, to demand that I celebrate you is to overrule my rights of free speech, free thought, my right of conscience. Beyond that, when you are forcing people to celebrate you, you're not creating acceptance, you're creating animosity. There may well be celebration, but it'll be through gritted teeth, and that certainly doesn't help your cause. But tempting as it is to get really upset at the gay rights group in this instance and the activists, I think the real blame lies with the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal. It's almost a given now that any organisation that has human rights in the title won't be upholding human rights, they'll be violating them. And Caleb, that's exactly what they've done in this instance.
It's just obscene. I don't think I can even describe how obscene this decision is. Because if we're talking about human rights here, surely freedom is a fundamental human right as well. And so a council ought to have the freedom to decide what flags it wants to put up, the flagpole that doesn't exist, by the way, and what months it chooses it's going to celebrate. And if it says, oh, well, we don't particularly think that in our town of 1,300 people, it's going to make too much of a difference if we celebrate Pride Month or not. Who cares? I mean, this is what happens when the long arm of the law is allowed to tell us what we can and cannot say. I mean, this is veering into thought crime territory, really, because it wasn't only that they didn't have the month decreed as Pride Month, it was that they had, as you pointed out, even dared to say, well, we don't do this for other people, therefore we're not going to do it for this group of people. If you think that, they're going to start coming after you and the law is going to be used to do it. This is in Canada, but you'd be stupid to think that this is not going to hit the shores of Australia and every other Western nation very soon if these groups, these boards, these human rights commissions are willing to hold a gun to your head and charge you money for not doing what activists tell you to do. It is insane.
And the group, this borderline pride group, their militants over this cannot be overstated. Check out this quote from Borderland Pride director Douglas Judson. He said, as a lawyer who does this work, that means I'm going to start taking people's houses and their vehicles and their toys and draining their bank accounts and garnishing their wages, because no one is going to stop behaving this way until there were real consequences. Oh, yeah, well, I can't understand why everyone wouldn't just be rolling over to keep you happy, mate. These guys, once they won the case, $15,000 in total, they said to this council, we'll donate a third of our award to the public library if you guys agree to host a drag queen story time at a date of our choosing. Now, the council, it would appear, has said no to this point. They're not desperate for a handout for the people who have effectively sued them using the commission. But how's this, them then being sent off to the commission's own retraining education camp for Human Rights 101? As someone who has a master's degree in human rights, I'd love to attend this course because, as Mac just said, it's not a human right that you must be celebrated for all your life choices, especially by people who haven't made those same life choices and just want to be left alone to live their own lives. Check this quote out from the training manual. It says it doesn't matter if you didn't intend or mean to discriminate, it's the impact on the person that matters. Oh, well, okay, well, they're just all hostages then to the feelings of anyone who decides I've been discriminated against. But spare a thought for Canada. This has been going on for 30 years. Back in 1995, Hamilton Mayor was fined $5,000 for refusing to proclaim Pride Week. Remember when it was just a week? Back in also 1995, London, Ontario fined $10,000 for refusing to officially recognise Pride Weekend. It goes to show this has been happening for a very long time. And this particular lobby group, Borderland Pride, this is the second time in 4 months they've won a 5-figure award. The last time was 35 grand out of some bloke who'd gone online. It was his own Facebook account and tweeted, well, not tweeted, Facebook posted something to the effect of, quote, not quote yet, no. He was saying that Borderland Pride's all ages drag queen show was a, quote, pedophile show, end quote. Now, that's an opinion. People are jumping online, sharing their opinions. This guy, it cost him $35,000. That's how militant they are in Canada. And it does make you wonder, because we have plenty of councils here who do all these kinds of things, corporates as well. They fly the flag, you name it. Waverley Council, I believe it is. I remember attending one of their Anzac Day parades, and they had painted around their entire building, like the road is a rainbow just to get to the council chambers. I thought, wow, these guys are going full hog. But it makes you wonder how many of them are doing this kind of thing just to avoid somebody like this lobby group here in Australia approaching the Human Rights Commission and getting them done similarly.
Well, I mean, how many of us, when I say us, I mean the royal us, censor our own speech every day so we don't get in trouble from someone or some organisation, or it's rife in our community. And God bless Emo Council for having the courage of their convictions and saying, no, we're not doing this.
And that's the point.
The consequences.
That's the point. I mean, this is a warning shot to everyone else, right? Because sure, a council can afford to stump up the 10 grand and the mayor can probably afford the 5 grand that's put upon them. But a lot of people...
Well, it's the ratepayers.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's the ratepayers.
But you know, an average person, if you were told you had to hand over 10 grand because you'd committed some sort of, thought crime like that, most people wouldn't have 10 grand in the bank to be able to pay that. That is the point. They are trying to cow you into silence.